Before we begin, take a slow breath in and let it fall out naturally. You don't need to focus. You don't need to stay awake. You don't even need to listen closely. Tonight, this space is just for rest. In the next few moments, we'll explore quiet secrets of space, not the loud, dramatic kind, but the peaceful kind, the kind that slows thoughts, softens the body, and makes sleep feel closer without effort. If you're watching this at night, lying down, you're exactly where you should be. And if you're listening during the day, this is still a safe place to slow everything down. You're welcome to stay with us. And if this calm helps you, you can gently subscribe for more moments like this. There's no rush. Even that can wait. For now, let the words arrive and drift away. Because what you're about to hear is not meant to be remembered. It's meant to be felt. And it begins with the quietest sound in the entire universe. What if the quiet you are feeling right now is the same quiet that exists between the stars? Take a slow breath and notice how silence does not rush you. In space, there are no sudden sounds, no sharp interruptions, no noise competing for attention. There is only a wide, patient stillness stretching gently in every direction. This silence is not empty. It is full of distance, full of calm, full of time, moving without pressure. When astronauts describe space, they often speak about how peaceful it feels even while floating above an entire planet. Nothing demands urgency there. Nothing needs to be solved. As you listen, imagine this quiet wrapping around you like a soft blanket. Each breath becomes slower, deeper, and easier to follow. If this calm feels comforting, you are welcome to stay with us and gently subscribe for more moments like this. The quiet between stars has existed for billions of years, unchanged and unbothered. And for this moment, you are allowed to rest inside it. Because this silence becomes even more comforting when you realize how gently the universe moves. Now, gently imagine movement without hurry. Far beyond Earth, entire galaxies are slowly drifting through space, not racing, not colliding, not competing. Their motion is so calm that it takes millions of years just to notice a change. Nothing there is late. Nothing is early. Everything arrives exactly when it should. This is not the kind of movement that creates stress. It is the kind that feels like floating on water, where effort disappears and trust takes over. As you breathe, picture these galaxies gliding quietly, carried by invisible rhythms older than time itself. Your thoughts don't need to keep up with them. They can simply slow down and follow. If you're still listening, let your body sink a little deeper into rest. You can softly tap the like button if this calm is reaching you. There is no rush to do it now. Even that can wait. The universe has been moving this way for billions of years without pressure, without panic. And when you notice that nothing out there is rushing, you may feel permission to slow down too. Because when time stretches this gently, something unexpected happens to worry. Out here, time does not behave the way it does on Earth. It doesn't chase, it doesn't count minutes loudly, and it doesn't demand attention. In the vastness of space, time stretches gently, almost like it is breathing along with you. Scientists know that time can slow down near massive objects, but you don't need the science to feel the idea. You can sense it already. That feeling when moments stop pressing against each other, when there is nowhere to be next, when nothing important is waiting on the other side of this second. As you listen, imagine time loosening its grip on you. The past doesn't pull. The future doesn't rush in. There is only this calm moment, wide enough to rest inside. If you're still here, quietly listening, you're doing perfectly. You don't need to focus harder. You don't need to remember anything. Just allow each word to arrive and then drift away. When time slows like this, thoughts begin to soften on their own. And in that softness, rest feels closer than you expected. Because if time itself can slow down, so can you. Before a star ever shines, before it warms planets or lights up the dark, it begins in silence. Not with an explosion, not with noise, but with a slow, quiet gathering of dust and calm gravity. For millions of years, nothing seems to happen at all, and yet everything is happening gently. This kind of creation does not rush. It waits. It allows pieces to come together naturally, without force, just like your breath finding its own rhythm when you stop trying to control it. As you listen, picture a distant cloud in space, softly folding in on itself. No pressure, no deadline, only patience, only time. If this image feels soothing, you're welcome to stay with us and softly subscribe for more calm journeys like this. There's no urgency. Even that can be done later. Stars are proof that something powerful can be born from stillness. That light can come from quiet. And when you remember this, your own stillness begins to feel meaningful too. Because what forms next in silence often becomes something beautiful. Some of the light you see in the night sky began its journey millions of years ago. It left its star long before humans learned to speak, before cities existed, before worry had names. And yet, it arrived softly, exactly now. This light was never in a hurry. It moved patiently through space, passing nothing, disturbing nothing, simply traveling. There was no urgency in its path, only consistency. Only trust that arrival would happen when the moment was right. As you listen, imagine that gentle light reaching you too. Not bright or overwhelming, but calm and warm, like a distant glow that asks for nothing in return. You don't need to understand it. You don't need to follow it. You can simply let it be there, resting quietly in the background of your thoughts. If this moment feels peaceful, you can softly tap, like not as a task, but as a quiet signal that you're still here. There's no rush. This ancient light reminds us that connection doesn't need speed, that something can take its time and still reach you perfectly, and that feeling of connection is only beginning to deepen. Many people imagine space as a place that is cold, lifeless, and unforgiving. That idea often comes from movies, sharp images, and dramatic sounds. But the reality is much softer than that. Space is not cold in the way we experience cold here. It is simply quiet, balanced, and patient. In truth, space is filled with gentle energy, faint light, and slow movement. It holds warmth in unexpected places, carried by stars and drifting particles. Nothing there feels hostile. Nothing feels rushed. It only feels vast and calmly present. As you rest, let this thought settle in. What once sounded frightening begins to feel neutral and then comforting, like a wide open room where nothing is chasing you. If you ever believed space was something to fear, you can let that idea soften now. You're safe here, listening. If this realization feels reassuring, you may quietly leave a comment, even a single word, just to mark this moment of calm. When myths fall away, reality often feels gentler than expected. And as space becomes less frightening, it becomes easier to relax into it. Because warmth and calm exist in places we once misunderstood. Even across unimaginable distances, starlight carries a kind of warmth. Not the sharp heat of fire, and not something you need to react to, but a soft presence that simply exists. This warmth travels quietly, touching nothing aggressively, asking nothing in return. Every star sends out energy in slow, steady waves. By the time that light reaches you, it has softened, aged, and become gentle. It is no longer intense. It is calm, like sunlight filtered through clouds or warmth felt through a closed window. As you listen, imagine that distant warmth settling around you, not on your skin, but in your awareness. A feeling of being lightly held by something far away and ancient. There is no need to move, no need to respond. If this image helps your body relax, you can softly tap, like as a small thank you to yourself for resting. There is no rush. Even that can wait. Starlight reminds us that power does not need force. That energy can travel for millions of years and still arrive gently. And just like that light, your thoughts don't need to be sharp tonight. They can soften and slow and fade. Everything that makes you was once part of something much older. Long before your first breath, before the earth even existed, the atoms in your body were formed inside stars. They were shaped slowly, patiently, in places where time moved without urgency. This means you are not separate from the universe you're imagining. You are made from it. The same calm matter that drifts between galaxies now rests quietly within you. There is nothing unfamiliar here, only recognition. As you breathe, imagine that connection becoming clear, not in a dramatic way, but gently, like remembering something you never really forgot. Your body already knows how to exist without rushing. It has done so for billions of years in different forms. If this thought feels comforting, you can softly leave a comment, even a simple symbol, just to mark that you're still listening. There's no pressure to write anything meaningful. Knowing you come from stars can make worries feel smaller. Not unimportant, just lighter. Because when you realize you belong to something this vast and patient, it becomes easier to let go and rest. And this sense of belonging is about to deepen even more. Did you know that even emptiness has a temperature? Not a dramatic one, not something you would feel suddenly, but a quiet background warmth that exists everywhere gently and evenly. Scientists call it the background temperature of space, but you don't need the name. What matters is the feeling behind it, the idea that calm is not accidental. It is built into the universe itself. Even where there is almost nothing, there is balance. As you rest, imagine this gentle temperature surrounding you, not cold, not warm, just neutral enough that your body doesn't need to react at all. Nothing to brace against, nothing to escape. If you're still listening right now, you're doing wonderfully. You can quietly type a small word in the comments. Calm, or even just a dot, as a soft check-in, only if you want to. Knowing that calm exists even in the quietest places can be reassuring. It means peace does not need effort. It exists naturally, waiting to be noticed. And as we move closer from space toward you, this calm begins to feel more personal, Now, without trying to change anything, allow yourself to drift. Not forward, not backward, just gently downward into stillness. Everything you've heard so far, the silence, the slow galaxies, the patient light, begins to settle together. There is nothing new to understand, nothing left to figure out. Only a soft sense that the universe does not rush, and neither do you. As your breathing finds its own pace, imagine floating without effort. No edges, no direction, just a calm suspension where thoughts feel farther apart and lighter than before. You don't need to follow them. You can let them pass, the way distant stars pass quietly through space. If this moment feels grounding, you're welcome to subscribe, not as a task, but as a way of staying connected to this calm. There's no pressure, even that can wait until later. Chapter 1 slowly comes to rest here, not with an ending, but with a pause, because what comes next is even quieter. And as we move forward, the calm shifts inward, becoming deeper, softer, and closer to sleep. As we move gently into this next part, the universe no longer feels far away. It doesn't sit above you or around you. It feels closer now, almost familiar, like a quiet presence that has always been there, waiting for your attention to soften. Out here, distance loses its meaning. The same calm that exists between stars can be felt in the space between your thoughts. You may notice pauses growing longer, breaths becoming slower, moments stretching without effort. There is nothing you need to imagine clearly. Even blurred images are enough, a sense of closeness, a feeling that you are not observing the universe anymore. You are resting inside it. If you're still listening, you're doing exactly what you're meant to be doing. You can gently tap like if you wish, or simply remain still. Both are equally perfect choices. This part of the journey is about narrowing gently, from vast space to quiet awareness, from stars to breath, because the closer the universe feels, the easier it becomes to let go. And in the next section, that closeness turns inward in a surprising way. Now, without changing your breathing, simply notice the small pause between one breath and the next. That quiet moment where nothing happens. No air moving in, no air moving out. Just a soft stillness that holds you for a second longer than expected. This space between breaths is easy to miss. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't ask for attention. And yet, it is one of the calmest places you can rest. As you listen, allow your awareness to settle there, not forcing the pause, not extending it, just noticing it exists, like a gentle gap where thoughts briefly lose their grip. If your mind wanders, that's perfectly okay. Each time it returns more softly than before. You don't need to guide it. It already knows the way back. If you're still with me, you might quietly leave a small comment, even a single letter, just to say you're here, only if it feels right. The space between breaths mirrors the space between stars, small, quiet, and deeply supportive. And when you rest there, even briefly, the body begins to feel safe enough to let go. Because in the next section, this quiet turns into something even more soothing. You may have heard the idea that the brain never truly rests, that even during sleep it stays busy, active, always working. This can sound tiring, almost discouraging, but the reality is much gentler than that. Yes, the brain remains active, but not in the way you're used to during the day. At rest, it shifts into slower, softer patterns, like dimming the lights instead of turning them off completely. Activity becomes quiet organization. Movement becomes gentle maintenance. As you listen now, your brain is already doing this naturally, letting go of sharp focus, releasing the need to solve, allowing thoughts to pass without holding on to them. You don't need to help it. You don't need to guide it. Rest is something your mind knows how to do without instructions. If this realization feels reassuring, you can softly tap like, not to engage, but to acknowledge this moment of understanding, only if you want to. Knowing your brain can rest without shutting down can feel comforting. It means you don't have to force sleep. You only need to allow it. And as this permission settles in, the body begins to soften even more. Because in the next section, rest becomes something you can almost feel spreading. There comes a moment when thoughts stop lining up in neat rows. They no longer arrive with urgency or demand clear answers. Instead, they begin to drift, softly, loosely, like clouds moving across a quiet sky. You don't need to push them away. You don't need to follow them either. They move on their own, appearing, then fading without effort. This is not distraction. This is the mind beginning to rest in its own natural way. As you listen, notice how thoughts may feel less sharp than before, less personal, almost like background. Motion rather than something you must engage with. This is a sign of safety, a sign that the nervous system is letting go, little by little. If you're still listening, you're doing more than enough. You don't need to concentrate. You don't need to remember these words. Let them pass through you the same way thoughts do, gently, without resistance. If this drifting feeling feels pleasant, you may quietly leave a comment later. Even just the word drift, only if it feels natural. When thoughts move this way, sleep often follows without warning, not suddenly, but softly. And in the next section, this drifting turns into something even deeper, a kind of weightless ease that the body recognizes immediately. Before going any deeper, take a quiet moment to notice your body, not to adjust it, not to correct anything, just to feel where it already rests. You might sense the weight of your head, supported without effort. Your shoulders settling a little lower than before, your hands resting wherever they are with nothing to hold on to. There is no perfect position. Comfort is not something to achieve, it's something to allow. If it feels right, you can make one small, slow stretch. Nothing dramatic. Just a gentle movement, like reminding the body that it's safe to be still again, and then let that movement fade, returning to rest. If you're still listening at this point, you're doing beautifully. You can softly tap like now, or simply stay exactly where you are. Both are equally calm choices. As the body settles, it sends a quiet message to the mind. That message says, you don't have to stay alert. You don't have to watch closely anymore, because when the body feels supported, the mind follows naturally. And in the next section, this support turns into a deeper sense of ease that spreads all on its own. Did you know your nervous system responds most gently to slow, predictable rhythm? Not sudden changes, not sharp contrasts, but steady patterns that repeat without surprise. This is why calm breathing, soft voices, and even gentle repetition can feel so soothing. Your body recognizes these rhythms as safe. They signal that nothing needs immediate attention, that it's okay to lower the guard you've been holding all day. As you listen now, notice the rhythm of the words, not their meaning, just their arrival and departure. Like waves reaching the shore, one after another, never in a hurry. Your body listens even when the mind stops trying. If you're still here, still listening, you might quietly type a small word in the comments later, maybe still or calm, only if it feels natural. The universe moves this way too, in slow cycles, in repeating patterns, nothing sudden, nothing alarming. When your nervous system senses this rhythm, it begins to release tension automatically. You don't need to tell it to relax, it already knows how. And as this rhythm continues, the next section gently invites you even deeper into a calm that feels almost effortless. There is a gentle shift that happens when awareness no longer feels sharp. It stops pointing, it stops searching. Instead, it becomes wide and soft, like light spreading evenly across a quiet room. You may notice that you're not focused on any single thing anymore. Sounds blend together. Sensations feel distant but comforting. Even the idea of listening begins to loosen. This is not losing awareness. It's awareness relaxing. As you rest here, there is nothing to observe closely. No detail asking for attention. Everything is allowed to be just as it is, without labels, without effort. This softness is a sign that the mind trusts the moment. If you're still listening, you don't need to do anything to prove it. Even staying silent is enough. If it feels right later, you can leave a small comment. Maybe the word soft, only if you want to. When awareness spreads this way, the sense of self begins to feel lighter, less defined, more spacious. And in this spaciousness, the boundary between being awake and being asleep becomes less important, because what comes next feels like drifting without direction, a calm that doesn't ask where you're going. Many people believe that falling asleep is something you have to do, that it requires effort, technique, or control. This belief alone can keep the mind alert, watching itself too closely. But the reality is much softer than that. Sleep is not an action, it is a release. It happens when effort fades, not when it increases. Just like you don't force yourself to feel calm, calm arrives when you stop trying to manage it. As you listen now, notice how nothing is being asked of you. You're not being guided toward sleep. You're not being pushed into rest. You're simply being allowed to drift exactly as you are. If you're still here, still listening, that's already enough. You don't need to check whether you're sleepy yet. You don't need to evaluate anything. Sleep often arrives when attention turns away from the idea of sleeping. If this understanding feels relieving, you may quietly tap, like, not as a task, but as a gentle acknowledgement, only if it feels right. When effort dissolves, rest finds its own way in. And as this idea settles, the body often responds first, a deeper heaviness, a softer breath. Because in the next section, this release becomes even more complete, and the need to stay awake quietly slips away. Did you know your body has been practicing sleep for your entire life? Every night, without instructions, it begins the same gentle process. Heart rate slows, breathing deepens, muscles release their quiet holding. You don't have to remind it how. You don't have to guide it step by step. These patterns are older than thought itself, woven into you long before words existed. As you listen now, your body may already be recognizing familiar signals, a calm voice, a steady rhythm, a sense that nothing urgent is about to happen. These are invitations your body understands immediately. You might notice heaviness spreading in a comfortable way, or a feeling of sinking, as if the surface beneath you is doing more of the work. There is nothing to correct, nothing to improve. If you're still listening, you can softly leave a comment later, maybe just the word "here," as a quiet check-in, only if it feels natural. Knowing your body already knows how to sleep can be deeply reassuring. It means rest is not something you have to reach. It's something that returns to you on its own. And as this trust settles in, the final section gently arrives, where even listening becomes optional and sleep feels very close. Now there is nothing left to do, nothing left to follow. Even listening can soften, the way a sound fades into the background without disappearing completely. Sleep does not need an invitation anymore. It often arrives quietly when attention loosens and awareness no longer tries to hold itself together. You may notice gaps in thought, moments where words blur, tiny pauses where you're not quite sure how long you've been resting there. This is exactly how it begins. Not with a clear line between awake and asleep, but with a gentle blending of the two, like dusk turning into night, without announcement. If you're still listening right now, you've already done more than enough. You don't need to stay to the end. You don't need to remember this section. You can allow yourself to drift away at any point. If you happen to wake later and remember this moment, you can quietly comment "completed" and share which part felt most peaceful, only if you want to. For now, let everything fade naturally. Breath continues on its own. The body rests without instruction, and sleep, gentle and unforced, arrives exactly when it's ready. Now, there's nothing left to do. If you're still listening, you don't need to stay awake for this part. You don't need to hold on to these words. Let them blur. Let them drift. Your breathing can continue on its own. Your body already knows how to rest, and your mind can soften without trying. If sleep hasn't arrived yet, that's perfectly okay. Sometimes rest comes first, and sleep follows quietly after. And if you do drift away here, you can let the video continue playing. There's nothing important you'll miss. If you wake up later and remember this moment, you're welcome to comment "completed" and share which part felt the most peaceful, only if you want to. For now, let everything fade naturally. Because when this video ends, it doesn't really end. It gently returns to the beginning, where you can once again take a slow breath and rest inside the quietest sound in the universe.